Welcome, this is Shakti Carola Navran, your online astrologer, and I'm happy to have you back if you have been following me for a while, and aloha to all the new visitors as well. So just for you to know what to expect, so I do all kinds of forecasts. I do the daily 1 minute, I do the full moon, the new moon, the eclipses, the retrograde, Mercury. So if you want to follow those longer videos, it's a good idea to sign up for your newsletter so I can keep you in the loop. So you go to my website, mauiastrologyreading.com, and there you will be able to sign up, and then I can send you the recordings of the videos as I make them. So what I do in the weekly forecast, what I'm doing today. Diane, hi, I haven't seen you in a while. Wonderful to have you. So what I'm doing here with my weekly forecast is kind of trying to synthesize the qualities of the week, the planetary qualities into an overall theme. And then in the daily I go more specific in the moon shifts and the faster transits we're having. So the highlight of the coming week is that we have the Spring Equinox. Finally, spring is coming. I mean, I'm living on Maui, so I haven't been suffering under snow or bad weather like most of you will. How is it in New York, Diane, right now? But we did have, or still have, a long winter, which for us means a lot of rain and cooler temperatures. So, hi Michelle, good to see you here. So if you guys have any questions, even if you listen to the recording later on, you can always leave me comments on questions. And if you do this while I'm live, I'm gonna get back to those at least towards the end of the presentation. So we can have a little back and forth, a little dialogue here. So, okay, so we have a spring equinox on Monday, so which means it's the astrological way of looking at the new year. So this is how we count the new year starts with the spring equinox, and that's happening because the sun steps into Aries. So in the last weeks we have talked a lot about Piscean qualities and coming to an end and integration and transcendence. With Pisces we talked a lot about spirituality and how we can tap into the ocean consciousness. So now we have kind of the biggest shift, not only from one that the sun steps into a new sign, but it steps into a new start of a circle of growth. The archetypal zodiac stands for the growth we go throughout the year. So the step from the sun from Pisces into Aries is the biggest shift, because it really starts this new energy, starting a new year. It's like the image of a plant coming out of the soil and growing out towards the light and the sun. So it's this kind of starting energy, that new beginning, which is happening with the sun in Aries. So Aries is the sign of the warrior and the pioneer, the new beginning. And it's ruled by Mars, and it's a sign of fire. So Mars, we look at the archetype of the warrior, the one who does things even if he's scared of, who has a purpose, who's driven to take care for the weaker. So that's the archetype, the Holy Spirit of Aries. But of course, and Mars. But of course, with all the planets and all the signs, there's always a low end way of potential manifestation and a high end of manifestations. So the low end of Aries and Mars is violence, abuse, war, aggression, all that nasty stuff. So especially when the sun is for a month now in Aries, we want to make sure that we monitor our own way of dealing with our more challenging emotions, our anger, things rising up. So how are we able to be with those more volatile emotions. And then, of course, in the political landscape we are these days, there is a lot of resistance building. So in French they say la résistance, and I have seen it being used all over the American internet as well. So yeah, we're going to look a little bit into that and how you can find your own place in that. Because everything in astrology, whatever forecast and suggestions and inspirations I'm giving you, it's always about how will that play out in your chart. So, for example, when the sun goes into Aries, you want to know where that is happening in your chart and how the sun as a transit is connecting to planets in your chart. And remember, the planets in your personal birth chart, we look at representations of different inner parts, different inner voices in you. And then we have those activations of transits, as we call them. They form new connections to where the planets were in the moment of your birth. And then it's kind of like that specific energy is coming into your life and you need to do something with it. So of course a personal forecast reading will help you to get very specific with that, but just listening to my forecast you will learn a lot about astrology over time, and you will learn how to do that actualization of the general forecast into your personal chart. Okay, so let's see what I wanted to talk with you about. So the spring equinox is one of those 4 points of shifts in the bigger picture. So with the spring, it's the start of the year, the start of something new. And I would predict, even if I don't usually do predictions, but I would predict that in the coming months there will be a lot of more violence in the air and acted out. And when we look into the political landscape, yes, there's a lot going on, and I do believe we have to make a stand and put down our foot and sign the petitions and call the politicians and make a nuisance out of ourselves. Nuisance, is that right? Okay. So we have good examples and role models in history how we go about to truly make a change. Look at India, Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, he defended and freed his country against the English at a time where that wouldn't have been possible with violence. So his choice of going the non-violent way, even if violence was brought against them, really earned him the victory in the end. So I do believe we have to find all these alternative ways to make our voice heard. And there are many, many ways out there. I think a couple of weeks ago I talked about, what's his name, Michael Moore, who wrote about the 10 action steps all of us can do, how we call, how we do things. So that's still a good thing to do, and keep in mind that we do have power, and the power of grassroots movement, it's the power of all of us, the power of the people. So one of my readers criticized me for being political to the extent I am, and I don't want to go too deep into the political things, so you go for that guidance to other people and websites, but because astrology is really about how do we adjust with what's going on out there in our life. I can't with good conscience just not talk about that, because a lot of what's happening out there is causing a lot of anxiety. So I want to give you guidance how you can deal with difficult circumstances out there, and how you can find a place of empowerment and guidance inside of you. And of course, these talks have aspects of philosophy and spirituality. And as I look at astrology, astrology is a really spiritual journey. So how can I not talk about waking up and our true nature? And I'm going to do a little bit about that today. So, First of all, we want to talk about how you can find your own vision. Because Mars is really the planet in our chart of our own life force, how we do things, how we take action steps. So the first thing is to find our vision so that we then know what those action steps can do for us, in which direction we want to go. So I remember that my vision for a profession when I was a teenager was to become a nurse. So both of my mothers, my foster mother and my real mother, were nurses. So hey, obvious where that came from. But I think what really pulled me was the idea to be of service, to be helpful for others. And since already 40 years, I'm an astrologer, an evolutionary astrologer. So I do believe I am a nurse in some way. I'm a nurse of awakening. I'm of service, and that's really important for me to contribute something to the bigger field of consciousness. And that's where I find my place. But to have a vision alone really isn't enough. So you might want to go back and think about what you wanted to be when you were young. And that might give you a direction and an idea what is really the inner core of your vision for this life from a soul level, and what you want to accomplish. And then of course it can take many, many forms how you implement that vision. So then the next step, of course, is the commitment to take action. And this is where Mars comes in. So wherever Mars is in your personal chart, this is where you ask to face your fears, to take those action steps, to do something which is important for you, where you have a lot of passion for, and then to do the steps, do the things necessary to get to the goal. So with this astrological beginning of the new year, it's another good time to really think about that. What is your vision? Do you have a vision for the coming year? Do you have a vision for who you want to be and where you want to be in 5 years? So these are very powerful questions to ask yourself around the spring equinox. So the resistance and activism. I do believe it's important to be active for what we believe in, and to find the most successful and peaceful way to do that, because in the long run that's the most powerful. And so with the 10 steps of Michael Moore we get a lot of good advice how we can go about it, but then in your personal life it's kind of similar. So what is your vision of yours? That vision you came in with, have you already connected with that? So in the evolutionary astrology we look at the purpose of your life, the spiritual intention you came in with, what's really your goal on the soul level for this lifetime. So for that we look at the north node of the moon. So we will find a lot of indicators and directions in a personal chart to connect with that vision of yours. And then we can see what's in the way, what are the obstacles, and what the wounds you brought in, and how can you take those to a higher level of expression, and how can you heal and deal with those. So these are just some inspirations here for you. The moon goes through Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces this week. So our emotional attunement and maturation is kind of still finishing something this week. And then when the moon goes in Aries next week, we're going to have a new moon coming up then. So then our belly and our head, our mind and our emotions going to be really in alignment. So this week it's kind of, we're making still a transition to get an alignment between the head and the belly. So that's basically what the moon means, going through those signs, ending one circle of evolution. Okay, so we also always want to talk about the gemstone for the week. I know you guys like that about my forecast. I'm hearing a lot of feedback about that, and you always want to give me feedback, so I know what you really want to listen to and what you want me to talk about. So this week I want to talk about the hematite. So the hematite is a stone I haven't talked about before yet. See, it's a silvery, shiny stone, and it's a strong Mars stone. So I want you to be supported in your personal energy flow. For the whole month, it's actually a good stone. So it connects to the first chakra, the chakra where we connect with the earth, with the ground, with a practical way of adjusting in this body, in this world, in the three-dimensional world. So the special thing about hematite, I mean, it's not a stone which is really very exciting looking, but it's a mysterious stone, because if you polish it, so you hold it to a wheel and then they have water running over it, the water running off with what is polished off will be blood red. So that has to do with the high iron content of the stone. And iron is Mars. So this is how you can tell about a signature of a stone. So the stone will reveal its qualities according to the chemical qualities, the crystal structure, the light reflection. So like this one has no light reflection really, it's more like a shine. And the chemical composition, like when a stone has iron in it, you always know it has Mars components. So this is a wonderful stone to help you to bring up your own energy, to energize you, to help you to use that stone as a focus point for where you want to go and what your intentions are, and to keep you going. So I think it's a nice stone to have as a pebble, so you can get them as little tumbled stones, very cheap in any gemstone store. So just get one and have it in a pocket, so you have it in your energy field, because that's what's happening whenever you have a gemstone and you bring it into your energy field. You can actually arm test it like with kinesiology, and you can test if a gemstone is supportive in its energy for you or not. So that's the fastest way. Beside, you can always correlate the colors to the chakras, but if you muscle test a gemstone, you know if it's strengthening or weakening you or not doing anything. So that's a really right in the moment test for you to choose a stone. But in general, we can say whenever you are attracted to a gemstone, you will have a resonance with the stone. So usually that stone will be testing powerful and supportive for you. Of course, if you want to take it deeper and you really want to know your healing gemstones, then you want to go and get my gemstone profile report. You can find the link down there, which is just $20, and I've put it together for you to give you your main healing birthstones, one for each of your planets in your chart. And if you ever want to have jewelry or buy jewelry or have them custom made, it's a wonderful thing to first start with those truly always meaningful gemstones of yours. But nevertheless, for the whole area of working with gemstones, using gemstones according to what's going on right now in the heavens, you can always use gemstones you feel attracted to. And also for meditation, when you put gemstones onto your body, laying down, you just can always use crystals and just go with your intuition. So with gemstones, a lot comes down to your intuition, and you will feel different with different stones on top of yourself. So play around, have your own experiences, and share with me. I'm always still collecting other people's experiences with different gemstones. So grounding, energizing, moving forward, taking action. So that's the overall subject for this week. And the Hematite will really help you wonderfully with that. So whenever we take action towards that higher road, that higher spiritual purpose we came in with, and we find a way to do that in our professional life, this is when we really can talk about right livelihood, and when we feel we have a meaningful life. We're here and we are in alignment with that inner guidance. So yeah, I think that's the main subject for the week I wanted to cover. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time. I don't see anything down here. So yeah, but you can always add something later. So I'm always glad to hear back. Don't forget to like. That's always a good support for me. It helps to make the video available for other people. And I do want to hear who has something to say about my work and my presentation. So my dears, I wish you a wonderful, happy new start into the next year, the next astrological year. And yeah, do this little vision quest with connecting with how early you can remember back and what vision you held then. Because children are usually very attuned and they do remember in a different way than after all this connection has closed down. So let me know what's happening for you, and I hopefully see you for my 1 minute where I give you more like the moon and what's happening actually every day. So I see you around, and all the best to you guys. Aloha and namaste, and I see you soon.